It's Hume Netball time on the Flow Friday Sports Show, and we are there. The centrepiece, the showpiece, the grand finals are here. To talk about all of them and how we got here is Aimee Riley, our sensational correspondent from the Hume Netball competition. Aimee, great to have you. I just spoke to her, Riley. It's lovely to be with you, Aimee. How are you?
I'm great, thanks, Alice. It's always a pleasure, and it's very exciting that we're at the final game of the season.
How good. Yes, we are there, and we're going to talk all about how we did indeed get here. So let's discuss some prelim finals starting in the under 11s. Now, Jindera, they took care of the Murray Magpies in the prelim, 21-12. It means that they'll do battle with Lockhart in the grand final. Tell us about that prelim briefly and how you see the grand final going in the under 11s.
It was such a great game, and it's always so exciting seeing our juniors and how well they take finals competition and the extra pressure. All of the under 11s on the day, despite the scoreline, and Murray Magpies did unfortunately in the end go down, and Jindera led essentially the whole way, were in really great spirits. Everyone was really professional and showed great sportsmanship. So both teams to be commended for how well they've held the pressure. Murray Magpies have had a fantastic run. They won in overtime a couple of games ago for them, so they've had a great finals run as well, and they bow out to Jindera, who finished at top of the ladder. So they now go into the final against Lockhart, as you mentioned. The best on court for that game was Grace Kirk from Jindera.
All right, grand final wise, how do you see the game going?
It's always hard to predict with the juniors because, as I mentioned, it's a different game in finals, and they are so young. These girls are 11, 10, 9. I expect that both of these teams had really good hit-outs throughout the season, so I expect it will be quite a close game and within 5 goals either way.
Okay, now in the 13 and under, the Osborne side way too good for the Crows, 46-18. Good run from Billabong in the 13s, but they couldn't quite get there in the end. It means we're going to get a you-know-what grand final. The overly dominant Jindera and Osborne meeting again in the 13s in the grand final. You love to see it.
Yes, certainly. Osborne had a great game. They have come back really strong. They had a loss in their first major semi-final to Jindera, who went straight through, and they've come back and knocked off Billabong Crows to be able to get through to the final dance. A great effort from them, as you mentioned, a valiant run from Billabong Crows, who've had as well a fantastic season. It will be a great hit-out between Osborne and Jindera. Best on court for that game was Chelsea Reynolds from Osborne, and I expect that the 13 and unders as well. Again, Jindera and Osborne have had some great hit-outs throughout the season. I suspect Jindera has the slight edge as they are undefeated all season and had a couple of good wins against Osborne, but undefeated certainly doesn't mean anything when we get to finals. So again, it'll be a fantastic game.
No doubt it will be. Let's go to the 15s, and in the prelim last weekend, we had the CDHBU side toppling Holbrook 39-22. Great result for them. It does mean that they will entertain Lockhart in the grand final. No Osborne or Jindera presence in that division, so Lockhart and CDHBU to contest the grand final there, Aimee.
Yes, CDHBU had a great game against Holbrook, and Holbrook equally had a fantastic game as well. That 39-22 scoreline probably doesn't really accurately reflect the game itself. It was fast-paced, it was well-skilled. Both the teams had a fantastic game. CDHBU utilised their height and their drive really well across the court to be able to get the win over Holbrook. Best on court was Miley Richardson from CDHBU. And as you mentioned, they do meet Lockhart through the 15 and under grand final. Lockhart 15s have had an incredible season. They are a fantastic team, but it is whoever is best on the day. And again, they've had some fantastic hit-outs for CDHBU throughout the year. So no doubt this will also be a fantastic game.
Yes, no doubt indeed. All right, to the 17s. And it was Holbrook who tasted success by just 2 goals in the prelim last weekend over the Brocklesby Burrumbuttock Saints. And that does mean that it'll be Holbrook and the Giants contesting the grand final on the weekend. So your thoughts on the 17s and how that's all about to end, Aimee?
The Holbrook Saints game in 17 was a fantastic game. The whole 4 quarters were contested. 15 minutes every quarter, both teams went out and gave it their absolute all. As the scoreline mentions, 2 goals the difference. It was extremely tight the whole game. Both defensive ends were working overtime to transition the ball into their shooting end. Plenty of pressure on everyone across the court. Both teams handled it really, really well. Holbrook held out that little bit longer, and BB Saints were really pushing towards the end of the game. So if we had a couple of minutes left on the clock, that may have been the difference. They mounted a fantastic comeback to BB Saints. Best on court went to Deja Lavia from Holbrook for her work in defence. Not too dissimilarly to Lockhart in the 15s and Jindera in the 13s. Ramble Giants in the 17s have had a fantastic season. They have absolutely motored through. They have, again, also had some fantastic hit-outs against Holbrook, though, so it'll be a really interesting game. Giants have a lot of girls in their 17s, and Holbrook have a few as well that have been playing up through seniors throughout the year. So it will be interesting to see how that experience translates to how they handle pressure in a grand final.
All right, 2 seniors action in the prelim in the C Reserves last weekend. How long v Jindera, and Jindera getting over the line in what was a fairly closely fought game, 41-36 over how long, and that means Jindera C Reserve go into the grand final against Osborne. So again, 2 of the dominant sides contesting the grand final here. Great effort to get as far as they did. How long in the end? Your closing remarks on how the season has shaped up in the C Reserves.
Yes, another great game, and great to see some close games throughout our preliminary finals. Jindera did get the win by 5 goals eventually with How Long, but they were toe-to-toe the whole game, and there was just a couple of periods where Jindera got a couple breaks, and that allowed them to get the eventual win, but extremely tight across the whole 4 quarters. Both mid-courts worked really beautifully to transition the ball down for both teams, and certainly a lot of work done through the defensive and the shooting ends as well to get the turnovers, but also keep up with the pressure of having to make sure that they are putting their shots in, because it was a well-shot game from both teams. None of the shooters were not putting up their shots. It was very accurate, so it was great to see from both teams. Best on court for that game went to Lily Delahunty from Jindera, who was one of their shooters, and she had a fantastic game. Osborne in the C Reserve have been a level above everyone else this year. They have been absolutely sensational, and that's not to say that Jindera can't win, because as we've talked about, anyone on the day can win it. They've proved that they are capable by getting to the grand final. It will take a mighty effort from both teams to knock either one off. I think that Osborne probably have the slight upper hand at the moment based off the home and away season form, but no doubt this will also be a fantastic game.
There we have it. All right, time is getting the better of us, so we'll try and speed through the last 3 grades. Going to C grade in the prelim last weekend, Jindera beating Henty 44-27, and that means that in the C grade we'll have Jindera and How Long contesting the grand final. Tell us about how good How Long have been this season in the C's, and give us your thoughts on the grand final.
Yes, How Long in the C grade have been an incredible force all season. The Jindera Henty game, again, scoreline doesn't really show that game. Henty, as we know, had a huge turnaround this season. Their C grade had an incredible effort to make it through to the prelim final. Additionally, they also lost both their shooters to knee injuries in the finals game before, and their C reservists stepped up. So it was an incredible effort from Henty, but taken down on the day by a really comprehensive Jindera C grade team. Best on court was Ruby Galvin from Jindera, one of their shooters. The How Long and Jindera C grade game will be an excellent hit out. They've been highly competitive, these 2 teams, throughout the season. Being cool, calm and collected and not buckling under pressure and making the most of every opportunity will be critical for both of these teams for whoever wins.
Okay, over to the B grade. Spicy game in the prelim between Holbrook and How Long. 30-38, Holbrook's way in the end. It means Jindera and Holbrook will be contesting the B grade grand final, Aimee.
Yes, absolutely. How Long had a fantastic season in the B grades and unfortunately couldn't get over the line against Holbrook, going down by 8 after having a really, really tough game against Jindera the week before. Best on court was Millie Walsh from Holbrook, and they will be extremely happy to knock out How Long, who finished a position higher than them. And as I mentioned, How Long have had a fantastic year, but Holbrook coming home really, really strong, and Jindera definitely won't be underestimating them in the B grade. The key for the B grade for me is not too dissimilar to the C grade, making the most of every opportunity and that full 4-quarter effort. Every 15 minutes when you step on the court, everyone is working hard and making sure that the transitions down the court are as effective as possible for both teams. I'm certainly not game enough to tip this one either, but again, I expect the margin in this game to be quite close.
No doubt. Well, isn't it funny? We've been talking all season long in the A grade about who's going to break the chain between Jindera and Osborne. Didn't look like anyone was going to really affect any of that change, except for How Long, who left their best till last in the preliminary final last weekend. They beat Osborne 47-42. That means Jindera and How Long will be going at it in the big dance in the A grade this weekend. Just how on earth did this happen in the prelim last weekend? Firstly, Aimee, and grand final, Jindera, How Long. How exciting.
Absolutely. It was the Osborne How Long game, grand final rematch from last year. Incredible effort from both teams. They are extremely highly skilled across the court, both of them. I do think that How Long had a little bit more finals experience and mature heads in the team, and that may have helped a bit too. Osborne are boasting an extremely young but still highly competitive A-grade team who we expect will be around for many years to come. They are certainly one to watch. It is very exciting for How Long to get their redemption, and Osborne bow out having an incredible season with a lot of change in their A-grade side. So absolutely something to be really proud of for them. Best on court in that game went to Bridie Willis from Osborne, who has led from the front as one of their main shooters this year, and she's done an incredible effort for such a young player who is one of the older heads in the team to be able to put up so many shots and contribute to her team so significantly. How Long, really happy with that win, very excited to move through in a grand final against Jindera. Both of these teams are very well respected by each other. All of the girls get along extremely well, but they also both know how strong each other is. So I expect that one bonus about our league is that the A-grade games throughout the season have been filmed, and so both of them would have had a look at that and used that opportunity to be able to assess game styles and work on that. But expect absolute firepower for 4 quarters and both teams throwing absolutely everything at it to be able to take that cup home.
Aimee Riley, great having you on the program. We're going to get you on next week to get your closing remarks and final thoughts post-season. Enjoy the grand finals this weekend. Great to have you on. All the best.
Thanks so much, Alice. Always a pleasure.